Welcome to this edition of Tullahoma's News Leader on 6. I'm Jenny English.
And I'm Jim Fuller. In tonight's news, we'll tell you about more new laws which went into effect July 1st. A McMinnville woman has been sentenced in the death of a Tullahoma man who she struck with her vehicle while fleeing police. Road construction delays shouldn't be a problem for motorists traveling interstates and state highways over this 4th of July holiday. State Senator Janice Bowling talks about school vouchers, and we'll talk to two of the Tullahoma alderman candidates for the August 1st election. We'll have these stories and more on tonight's News Leader on 6.
Cool off at Southern Middle Tennessee's newest water park, Tullahoma's Splash Island. Fun for all ages. 3 25-foot water slides, lazy river, fun water features for toddlers, tasty food items available. All this and more, only $5 from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. or 4 to 9 p.m. Sundays, 1 to 6. Join the fun at Tullahoma's Splash Island.
Keith Barnett here at Russell Barnett Kia in Tullahoma. Check out the 2019 fully loaded V6 Kia Sorento, up to $6,400 off original MSRP. That's Russell Barnett Kia in Tullahoma, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. And remember, why buy anywhere else?
When your family suffers the loss of a loved one, the caring and compassionate staff at Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel are standing by to assist you in every way possible. We are proud to support local industry and offer only Batesville caskets. Many funeral homes don't own or operate a crematory. We utilize the only crematory in Coffee County. Your loved one never leaves Coffee County. We can accommodate any need and any budget. Consider our complete pre-need service to remove this burden from your family during their time of grief. Lock in today's low costs and protect from inflation. Tullahoma Funeral Home and Coffee County Funeral Chapel. Our family caring for your family.
Welcome back. We talked on Tuesday's news about the new law which went into effect July 1st, which bans the use of cell phones while operating a motor vehicle. Other new legislation which is now in effect includes the creation of a state gaming commission to facilitate online sports gambling and granting the state government the authority to ask the federal government for a lump sum grant to create a new healthcare system. A law known as the bathroom legislation law redefines the term public place for purposes of the offense of indecent exposure to include a restroom, locker room, dressing room, or shower designated for multi-person, single-sex use. Legislators also created a statewide Alzheimer's Advisory Council, which will study the impacts of the disease on the state and its residents. And finally, changes to the voter registration laws will penalize paid voter registration groups with fines for too many incomplete sign-up forms, as well as criminal penalties for submitting registration forms too late. Legislators also changed the state's concealed carry law to allow gun owners to obtain permits online. That law goes into effect July 1st of 2020.
It's been almost 3 years since Joe Moon, a much-loved longtime employee of the Tullahoma Recreation Department, died in an automobile accident after his truck was struck by a car fleeing police officers. Kaylee Brooks Hickey of McMinnville, who was driving the car which struck Moon's truck, pled guilty last week to reckless vehicular homicide. She was sentenced to 10 years in prison. Hickey, who was 21 years old at the time of the accident, also was sentenced to an additional 2 years for evading arrest with the risk of death or injury, 6 years for aggravated assault, and 2 years for felony endangerment with a vehicle. She will also have her driver's license revoked for 3 years.
Road construction won't slow motorists across Tennessee over this 4th of July holiday. The Tennessee Department of Transportation has suspended all construction-related lane closures on interstates and state routes beginning at 12 o'clock p.m. on Wednesday, July 3rd through 6 o'clock a.m. on Monday, July 8th to provide maximum roadway capacity for holiday travelers. TDOT Commissioner Clay Bright said, quote, "It is estimated that 985,000 motorists will travel Tennessee's interstates and state routes this July 4th holiday. To help motorists reach their destinations safely and without unnecessary delays, we are suspending lane closures during this holiday travel time." End quote.
Stay with us. More News Leader on 6 is coming up after these messages.
Mustang Sally. You better slow that Mustang down at Russell Barnett Ford in Tullahoma on Highway 55, where you can receive up to $4,000 off original MSRP. That's Russell Barnett Ford in Tullahoma. And remember, my question is, why buy anywhere else?
Here at Manchester Funeral Home, we know the importance of living and working in our local community because it's those families who we serve during their time of need honorably. We believe in supporting local business and offer only 100% Batesville Caskets, the best in the industry and a driver of our local economy. If you want straightforward and fair pricing while working with the people you know, choose Manchester Funeral Home, serving your community since 1932. And pre-planning and pre-funding can be the best gift you ever leave your loved ones. Call us to pre-arrange. Manchester Funeral Home. Our family, caring for your family since 1932.
Welcome back. Tennessee State Senator Janice Bowling recently held a town hall meeting in Tullahoma. One of the issues covered was school vouchers that recently passed for the Nashville and Memphis school districts.
My name is Mary Vassick, and I'm the visual arts teacher at Coffee County High School. And I'm here to ask you about your position on vouchers.
Vouchers are an attempt to help children in Davidson County and Shelby County who are in schools that have had failing records for several years now, that these children not be held captive to a school that they can't get an education in. And so it requires parental involvement, because the parent will have to take the initiative to make an application for an amount of money, and I think it's $7,500 a year, to pay for their child to go to a private school of their choice that they could get them to and whatever else. That then enables that parent and that child to have access to a school that is performing. They have done a lot of work in the Memphis and Davidson County areas. They have some charter schools, they have all kinds of schools, but many of them are still failing for a variety of reasons. And so, by the Constitution of the State of Tennessee, we're supposed to provide a public education for children. Well, parents who don't have the means, it's means tested. You have to make below a certain amount, and with so many children, there's a differentiation in the amount, depending on how many children you have in the household. But that gives an amount that will assist that family in providing an education for their children. And they are taxpayers. They are people who, their kids need to be educated just like our kids need to be educated in Coffee County and in Manchester and in Tullahoma. And so to allow that is what a voucher is, and I was supportive of that.
So if tuition exceeds that money, that $75 that they apply for, who pays the difference?
That'll be their business. It's their child and the education, and that's what they're given, which is essentially the base amount that the state gives. So that's what it is.
So you still have poor families they're still stuck in those failing schools because they can't afford to pay the difference.
There will be families that won't take the initiative. There'll be families who are not as involved as they should be in their own child's education. And so whatever they do with their children, we can't, just because you see a problem doesn't mean you can fix the whole thing, but you can certainly make a step toward helping those who will help themselves and by applying for this.
So again, poor families don't have a chance where they have a free education in a public school, but so instead of putting
these are poor families typical because it's means tested. I misunderstood what you were saying there. This is means tested. So poor families will have access to this money. And I think there's a cap on this amount of $25 million. So that would be divided between how many people apply in Memphis and in Davidson County, or in Shelby County and Davidson County. And so those people, this will offer help to people who would have no other help otherwise. And in the meantime, this isn't just this. They're doing this, they're trying to improve the charter schools, they're trying to improve the public schools. I carried legislation that says if a teacher is willing to teach in one of the schools that is failing, because teachers' evaluations then are reflected in how well the children are performing. If a teacher leaves a higher performing school to go into a low performing school, that carries with that teacher, that carries the inherent danger that they will lose their points that they need to get each year in order to stay vested and whatever. So when my bill said that they will be able to voluntarily go into those poor performing schools, a teacher who has scored high on the evaluations before, without losing her security in her own job in order to try to help failing schools do better if the issue is the teachers. There are a lot of issues for the failing schools, and a lot of it requires, there are two things that really contribute to a child getting a good education. This has been tested empirically for years. Increased parental involvement and decreased school size. And unfortunately in public education we've gone to making mega schools and then, you know, not really being more closed out toward the parents. Whereas when our kids went to school, I was parent volunteer coordinator in the elementary school, my husband was on the school board. But each parent has to get involved in the process of educating their children. Vouchers is a very small picture or a portion of a very big picture. We've got to fix the picture. If this voucher will help these children in these miserably failing schools, for the parents who take the initiative to do the things that are necessary to get that money to help their child get an education and out of a failing environment, simultaneously giving more money back into that school system to help them correct their problems, simultaneously addressing the fact that we're not infrastructure equipped to be doing all the tests online, and next year they will be on paper again. And then simultaneously putting more money into education, not only to backfill those particular students, but education in whole. Simultaneously having a new commissioner who has gone out immediately, going into and having real meetings with real teachers, not necessarily just a staged meeting.
More news is coming up in just a moment.
Keith Barnett here at Russell Barnett Ford in Winchester. Check out the 2018 Ford Taurus, yours today for $26,992. That's Russell Barnett Ford on 41A in Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. And remember, my question is, why buy anywhere else?
You made the time and the sacrifice to broaden their horizons, to see their smiles, but mostly to make lifelong memories. We think it's time to do it again, just the two of you. Don't let illness or injury slow you down. The rehab team at Life Care Center of Tullahoma is ready to help you live well.
It's time for every family and business in Tullahoma to go green and recycle. Tullahoma Public Works makes it simple and easy to recycle. Just place your recyclable materials, paper, plastic, aluminum, and cardboard beside your garbage container on the same day your garbage is picked up. Your recycled materials don't have to be in a fancy container. Recycling is not only the right thing to do, it makes sense. Recycling pays. Paying to bury our garbage costs each of us. Please do your part. Let's go green, Tullahoma, and recycle.
Welcome back. Tom Corrington spoke with Stephen Landers, who is making his second attempt to win a seat on the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman.
The election season for Tullahoma is underway. We have 2 seats on the Board of Aldermen that are up for filling, and we have only one incumbent. So there are 3 challenges, but we have 4 people running and we have 2 seats. Remember that we don't do a primary, so whatever the top 2 voters are the ones that were seated. Last week we talked to Jesse Duncan and Daniel Berry, and today we want to complete the slate. We have Rupa Blackwell and Stephen Landers, and they're the remaining 2. So those are the 4 candidates, and you have to choose 2. We're talking today with our 2 candidates for the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman. They are Stephen Landers and Rupa Blackwell, and so we want to see what they have to say to you. And I think Stephen has been around longer and has even tried for office a time or 2, so we should be fairly familiar with him. But let's give him a chance to update you in case you're not quite sure who he is. Stephen, tell them who you are and how'd you get here.
Well, I grew up here in Tullahoma. I'm homegrown. Went to school here. I'm an Eagle Scout. I worked for 28 years. My mom and dad are deceased. My wife is deceased too. But my father was an electrical engineer at AEDC, and my mother was a nurse. My father worked there at AEDC for 35 years, and I worked at work for 28 years, making baseball bats and softballs and other stuff.
Did they, were you there when they closed? Did they?
Yes, I was
They
there.
moved out from under you, huh?
Well, Clinton signed NAFTA, and there went my job to China and Canada.
Ah, yeah.
But I enjoyed the people, working with the people, and we did bicycle parts. We had several bats in the World Series. In fact, I found a photograph in Sports Illustrated that Bill Butner just passed away, and he's famous for missing baseball on first base in the World Series. And it showed that he had a baseball bat from Worth. So I got that. I'm going to put that.
You saved that picture.
I'm going to save that.
Okay. Tell us, what have you got in mind for the city? Why are you running?
I'm running again because I want to get back to Tullahoma what they've given to me, which is a nice place to live and nice jobs. And I worked at an elementary school too for several years, and I enjoyed doing that. And we have good schools and good teachers in Tullahoma. We are run by a lot of the principals are nice, and then we have a new superintendent, and he's done well. And then we need to take care of the senior citizens in Tullahoma and make.
What are you going to add? What are you going to do for the senior citizens?
Well, no, I'm going to go to the senior citizen place and just talk to them and see what their problems are. I know we have several senior citizen apartments around here. I think we're building a new one. I'm not sure.
Getting a new one?
Over there on Cedar Lane.
Yeah, they haven't said much about it, but there's a lot of ground moving going on. So. Okay. One of your comments was that you wanted to press industrial development or economic development, whichever we call it. What have you got in mind there?
We just need to look for other jobs and get jobs here and for people to work with and be able to stay here.
Well, do you have anything in particular in mind in terms of the way you go about it, or who's going to do what to whom?
Not right now.
Not right now?
So, we just need new jobs, like the young people come here and be able to stay. And
what kind of jobs would you like to see come to town?
Industry like we're a sports town. Maybe we already have Wirt became Rollins. Maybe we can get an expansion on that.
We'll be right back after this.
It's not invoice. It's not MSRP. It's not Christmas Day, although it may feel like it. It's the lowest prices in Middle Tennessee, period. Get to Stan McNabb Chrysler Dodge Jeep Ram or Stan McNabb Chevrolet Buick GMC Cadillac before these prices are gone forever.
All right, the cat's out of the bag at Carroll Street Liquor in Tullahoma. Now you know where to go if you're planning a get-together and want the ideal wine or spirit. Party planning can be stressful, but at Carroll Street Liquor you'll find everything you need. Mixers, gift sets, and all of your favorite spirit brands. So if you're feeling the pressure to pull off the ideal party, come to Carroll Street Liquor and select among the seemingly endless supply of wines, spirits, gift sets, and more. Your perfect party, it's in the bag with Carroll Street Liquors.
Welcome back. Tom also spoke with Rupa Blackwell, who is making her first run for a seat on the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Aldermen.
We're talking today, folks, with the candidates for election to the Tullahoma Board of Mayor and Alderman. Remind you that we have 2 seats coming available. We have 4 candidates. We talked to 2 of them a week or so ago. Jackie Duncan, who's running for re-election, and Daniel Berry. And so today we've got the other 2 in the person of Stephen Landers and Rupa Blackwell. And we've just heard from Stephen in terms of what he hopes to see happen if he gets elected. So let's give Rupa a shot. Tell the folks who you are and why you're running and stuff like that.
Absolutely. My name is Rupa Blackwell. I was born and raised here in Tullahoma. My parents moved here in 1977, which they celebrated, I think, their 42nd year living here a couple weeks ago. My parents, when they moved here, my dad's a physician. My mom was a nurse at the time when she moved here, went to nursing school at Motlow. And they instilled in me a deep belief in service of our community. So upon graduation in 1999, I went to college, and I actually entered the nonprofit field like my mother. She started helping at the Trinity Adult Daycare Center. I don't know if y'all know which one that is, but my mom helped to start that, and she really, honestly, was a huge influence in my life. And because of that, I started doing my job, which is fundraising and event production for large nonprofits.
You're basically independent. You're not. Are you working for somebody in particular?
I work for contracts because I'll fill you in on that story. So moving here, my husband and I, when we decided to move here to live in Tullahoma, we were working in Los Angeles, and to be honest, it was really expensive. I was working 80-hour weeks. We had a daughter, and we decided we were exhausted, tired, and wanted to move back home. He's not from here. He's from small town Louisiana. But when we came and visited Tullahoma, we saw that it had exactly what we wanted. It was quiet, it was affordable, we had great school system, and it had lots of amenities for us as a family. So we moved back here. It allowed me to not have to work full time. I do still pick up contract work. So I'll work for Cycle for Survival, is an event that is put on by Memorial Sloan Kettering. I produce sometimes AIDS Life Cycle. For a while I was the interim director of the United Way here while we found another director at the United Way, Coffee in Moore County. But yeah, I pick up contract work mainly so that I can spend my time volunteering here in the community, which has been amazing. So in moving back here, I was able to cut back my work schedule, stay home a bit more with my daughter, and be more involved with my family and volunteer in a community.
Okay. When did you move back?
2016, January. End of January 2016.
Well, you're still getting reacquainted with the community.
Well, I was thankful that I was able to jump in head first. So I sit on the Tullahoma Arts Center board, the Tullahoma Daycare Center board, other nonprofits that I work with as well. I help with the Arts Alive Festival, and now I sit on the Planning Commission and have for almost 6 months, and it has been eye-opening, that is for sure.
Well, what is it you want to do for Tullahoma?
What is it that I want to do for Tullahoma? Well, one of the things I say is whenever I say what I want to do, my goal has been to actually go out there and talk to people and find out what they want from Tullahoma. Thankfully, some of the things that I initially proposed are things that resonate with our community. I've been talking to them about expanding our bike pathways and our sidewalks.
Are you already talking to people?
Oh yeah, I've knocked 700 doors at this point.
Right.
And walking around 7 months pregnant, knocking on doors. It's been great in the summer heat. Okay. But yeah, I've been knocking on doors probably about 4 evenings a week and during the weekends, and chatting with people. I think the best way that you can learn from people is to actually go to where they're at, meet them, and find out what's important to them. Sidewalks to schools. I think that a lot of us, and I hear from parents, this is from parents a lot of times, but I'm also hearing it from people who have kids who've graduated or who are retired. Sidewalks and bike paths.
Sidewalks have always been, Tullahoma basically doesn't have a sidewalk system.
Yes.
We've been talking about that for years,
yes.
And not that much gets done.
Yes. Well, and it's a funding issue, right? So if you look at it, I know that Jennifer Moody, our city administrator, has been looking into grant funding for sidewalks and bike paths and a way of connecting. There's actually a multi-phase plan to connect Tullahoma with that type of mobility. And I think it's important. I think it's a safety concern, especially as we continue to grow. I know that was it August or maybe September of last year, a kid was hit on their way on Avoca to Robert E. Lee. And that just shouldn't be happening. So that's one of the things I want to make sure that I support. Our roadways and our actual driving infrastructure is something I think that we can improve on. And I also want to work on listening to our businesses that say they don't want to come to Tullahoma, finding out why, and making sure we are addressing their concern.
We'll be right back with your local weather forecast after this.
Keith Barnett here at Russell Barnett Chevrolet GMC in Winchester. Select Silverados will receive supplier pricing and $6,500 in rebates only at Russell Barnett Chevrolet GMC on the bypass in Winchester, home of the lifetime powertrain warranty. And remember, why buy anywhere else?
We're losing it, Doctor.
Not on my shift. Quickly, brush. Roller.
What a transformation. It's got to be okay.
Okay, nothing.
At Paintworks of Tullahoma, we specialize in domestic emergencies with Martin Senior Paints. You can be the paint doctor too when you treat your home with Martin Senior interior and exterior finishes.
Doctor, we've got another one.
Got you covered.
Paintworks of Tullahoma. Come see the paint doctor, Stat.
My wife Jackie has always been the life of the party. But things changed when she couldn't be as active anymore.
They told me I needed a double knee replacement.
It's not as big a deal as it used to be, but she still needed to go to rehab.
I was amazed at how good the therapists were at Life Care. They took really good care of me.
They took excellent care of her. And now she's back doing the things she loves, and that makes everyone happy.
Life Care Center of Tullahoma wants you to get active and live well.
Welcome back. We'll take a look at our weather forecast now, starting with our weather history. Our average high on this day was 85 degrees with an average low of 65. And tonight, look for mostly clear weather with a low of 70 degrees. On Friday, expect scattered storms with a high of 87 and a low of 70. And on Saturday, some more scattered storms with a high of 88 and a low of 70. And that's it for this edition of News Leader on 6. Join us here each Tuesday, Thursday, and Saturday at 6, 8, and 10 for more News Leader on 6.
And you have a happy and safe July 4th weekend.